Thank you very, very much for joining us right here on ET Now. Mr. Yashwant Sinha, it's always a view that we value. We are less than 3 weeks away from elections 2019, the first phase to take off. If I may ask you a very candid question on political narrative, who is controlling this right now and how has this changed in the last 1 month?
Well, thank you, Supriya, first for talking to me, and second for starting with this very interesting question. The narrative was being controlled by the opposition parties until very recently. But it appears as if the narrative is now being controlled by the ruling party, by the Prime Minister, and the opposition is either only responding to it or falling in the trap, as I said, somewhere else, falling in the trap laid by the Prime Minister. So the narrative, unfortunately, has shifted from the real issues to issues of no importance. So nobody today is talking about agrarian crisis or unemployment or the plight of the Dalits or the plight of women and other issues in this, the economy in general, other issues in this country which are of vital concern, and we are getting engaged in such irrelevant discussions as who is a chowkidar, who is not a chowkidar, what a chowkidar does, what a chowkidar does not do. Right. I mean, these are irrelevant issues in which the government takes the initiative and the opposition parties fall for it.
But that's exactly the question, sir, that when, and I'm presuming the turning point in this change of narrative really was Pulwama and Balakot after that. My question really is, when that was the turning point and when, you know, that became the dominant narrative, could the opposition afford to sidestep that narrative and build a narrative of its own? Was that even possible?
I'll answer this question in two parts. The first is that, you know, the Pulwama terrorist attack issue has raised a whole lot of questions with regard to the complete inefficiency of the government and the sacrifice of so many precious lives of our security forces. That is where we should have been demanding an explanation from the government, holding the government to account for the terrorist attack on our security forces. But instead of that, the government succeeded in transferring the whole discourse or shifting the whole discourse to the airstrike. And when I say that the opposition, some of the opposition leaders fall in the trap, this is exactly what I meant, because some of the opposition leaders then started questioning the number of terrorists who were killed in Pulwama, etc., which gave the opportunity to the Prime Minister to say that the opposition parties, especially the Congress party, was anti-armed forces, something which they are repeating even today after the unfortunate statement of Sam Pitroda, and then they said they are anti-national, and the third stage of that is that they are pro-Pakistan. So this is the narrative which is traveled down through the through a pliant media controlled by the government to the people at large. So the narrative has shifted. So as far as Pulwama is concerned, my view always had been that we should have questioned Pulwama and we should have continued to concentrate on the other issues which are of great concern to everyone in this country. The air attack took place. The Air Force did an excellent job. We congratulate them. All this we should have been saying in tune with whatever everyone else was saying. That should never have been questioned.
No, I agree with you there, and I think you are right when you say that there was a trap laid out and the opposition has repeatedly walked into this. I agree with you, but I don't know how tempting or untempting this is for the opposition to not walk into a trap like that, because, you know, when it is matters of national security and questions are raised, you do want to join the chorus. But having said that, sir, what is it now going to take to bring the discourse, to bring the attention, to bring the political capital back to where it should belong? Let's begin with one such issue. Joblessness was supposed to be the big Achilles heel of this government. It was all about berozgari. Suddenly that has evaporated. Do you see that becoming a substantial issue in elections? And if I may ask you, what is elections 2019 going to be fought over? Will this be national pride, national security, anti-Pakistan? Or will issues that mattered till 2 months back, which is jobs, which is agri-distress, which is security of women, will those issues come back to take center stage?
It is the responsibility of the opposition parties and their leaders to drag the discourse back to the real issues, as I said, and not get involved in irrelevant issues. It will be the effort of the government not only to raise national security issues and claim all the credit for it, but they will be raising other issues, like this issue of Chowkidar. I mean, the Prime Minister goes on national television and addresses chowkidars all over the country. So what does it show? It was Chai Wala in 2014. It became Pakoda Wala somewhere in between. Now it's become Chowkidar. So these are not issues which are of great concern to the people. What is of great concern to the people is, have their children got the job? Do they have the opportunities? Is the economy doing well? Can we look to the future with some degree of confidence? These are issues. Agrarian distress. I mean, look at the Kisans, the way they are suffering. And the government has tried to, I'll not mince my words, bribe them by giving them 2,000 rupees just before the elections. So these are issues, and it's the responsibility of the opposition to insist that these are the real issues, and as I said, drag the discourse back to these issues.
But talking about the agrarian stress, and you've been somebody who's been very vocal on this, the whole scheme of putting 2,000 rupees, and, you know, people have raised eyebrows over it. It's unfortunate from the part of the political class that the opposition party hasn't, or opposition parties haven't raised any stink about this. Do you believe with that one move, the BJP has been able to contain the crisis as far as the agrarian anger, the agrarian stress was concerned? Is that going to be advantage BJP?
I don't think 2,000 rupees is going to change the outlook of the people, or especially the farmers, towards the agrarian distress that they have been experiencing for the last 5 years. That is not going to change. But the point is that the government, and nobody in the opposition could really oppose it. Who will oppose if you are giving out a dole? Because that will make you unpopular. But coming just before the elections and beating the deadline of the coming into force of the Model Code of Conduct by a very narrow margin in order to be able to do this is something which the opposition should have attacked. The manner in which it was done, the intent with which it has been done, and leave it at that. But instead of that, you know, if we start questioning that farmers don't need help, the government will immediately say they need help. Here we are helping them, and you are criticizing that help. That is not the route to take. The route to take is, it has come too late. It is only meant to garner your votes, undue influence on your voting pattern, and all that should be the narrative of the opposition.
No, fair point indeed, sir. But before I move any further, I will have a question on the opposition itself. It seems to be this amorphous, motley bunch of people who want to oppose Mr. Modi, and the only thing that's bringing them together is that. But beyond that, there doesn't seem to be a glue that binds them together, and one sees a reflection of that in the inability to stitch together alliances. How how disappointed are you with the fact that as far as the BJP is concerned, its allies are in place, they've moved ahead, but the principal opposition has failed to do so? They're all talking in different languages. There is a lot of name calling that's happening publicly. That, I'm presuming, is not warranted from an opposition that would have wanted to be seen as united.
Well, we must realize one thing, that the opposition is not united at the national level. There is no national level Mahagathbandhan. There is Gathbandhan, that means alliances which have been forged at the state level. And, I don't mind that there should be alliances at the state level. SP-BSP started with that in UP, and now more or less it is stitched together by the opposition parties, except a few places here and there. In the last 2-3 days, a lot of movement has taken place in forging these state level alliances of the opposition parties. And let me tell you from personal experience that these can be quite effective, these state level alliances. But there is no national level alliance. And therefore, there is no projected leader of the alliance. And that's why you can say it's a motley crowd. But if various opposition parties get together, it will always appear to be a motley crowd, as against the one highly organized, disciplined force, which is what the BJP appears to be at this point of time. And but we have experience in the past of such motley crowds winning elections against organized entities. This happened in 77, this happened in 1989, and could well happen again, because people will respond to their issues in the election. It all depends on how they feel on the day they go to vote. Will they think only of national securities, or will they be influenced by what they are experiencing in their daily life? My own feeling or experience is that people vote on the basis of what they feel on the day of the election, which is still 3 weeks away.
No, fair point. But Mr. Sinha, why is it that the BJP has been able to stitch alliances and is even willing to accommodate allies where it has had to give up sitting MPs? And why is it that the opposition hasn't been able to do so, especially in seats where they don't even occupy those positions? They have either been number 2, number 3, somewhere number 4, and still there seems to be a bargaining on every seat that's happening. Why do you believe that's happening?
No, I have raised my voice about it, Supriya. I have said that opposition has lagged behind the BJP. They have not shown the same spirit of accommodation that the BJP has shown. They have not swallowed their pride as the BJP has. And in terms of time, the BJP certainly looks ahead of them. But as I said, over the last 3-4 days, there has been movement. The opposition alliance in Bihar has been put together, and they should be able to give a good fight there. There are opposition alliances elsewhere, but there are also areas, for instance, Delhi, or let's say Haryana, Punjab, where, or even Uttar Pradesh, where the entire opposition is not united yet. So let's see what happens. I can tell you again from experience that a lot of things will happen between now and the first date of elections, and hopefully it will happen all to the good. So despite the fact that BJP has stolen a march over the alliance making this whole game, I would like to say that the manner in which BJP has sacrificed winning seats, given up sitting MPs seats, is an indication of the weakness and the panic in the BJP.
Yeah.
It is not a sign of confidence. that and then the fact that you are encouraging people to come from other parties and you are giving nominations to them, that again shows that you're not yet there, that if these borrowed players are not taken, then you are in a bad situation. So the BJP adopting these tactics is showing its weakness.
Right.
And the opposition should exploit this weakness to the maximum.
But that's exactly my question, sir. If we actually see in this poll season, there seems to be a very convenient switching of ships that's happening. You know, sitting MPs of BJP have gone and joined the Congress. Then there are lots of Congress leaders who are joining the BJP. Some speculations are very rife. I mean, at the end of the day, there are two very distinct political ideologies, one would believe. What do you make of these very, very rampant defections that have now come to take center stage in Indian polity?
I would say that, such defections just before elections are not unknown. Before every election, such defections do take place. People are not accommodated in one party, in one constituency. They shift to some other party. That is not unknown. But the manner in which the BJP has done it, I would repeat, is a sign of BJP's weakness. It is not a sign of strength. We are discussing, BJP is a great party. It has stitched up the alliances in good time. It has swallowed its pride and all that. Very fine. But it also represents the weakness of the BJP and the fact that these new entrants are not coming because they are influenced by the ideology of BJP. There is hardly any ideology left in politics in India today. In the manner in which people are shifting from one party to another, how else would you describe it? But I would like to make the point that the opposition, if the opposition Mahagathbandhan, as the BJP says, is a Mahathagabandhan,
right,
then how is the BJP's own Gathbandhan any better?
No denying that, and I think you make some sense there. But I actually just want to cover a little bit of a ground there. Any survey that you look into throws up very important election issues, national security being one of them, jobs topping the agenda, agrarian crisis being one agenda, security of women being the agenda. There was a survey that Times Now and VMR did, and Rafale seems to be at the bottom of those 10, 12 issues that people care about as far as this election is concerned. Do you believe the opposition and principally the Congress has wasted a lot of political capital in chasing that particular issue?
That particular issue is before the courts. The Supreme Court has reserved its order on a very important issue which is under contention between the petitioners like me and the government. That's another issue. And, I would say, yes, Rafale, last word has not yet been said, but opposition parties raise multiple issues during elections. So while there are some very important issues, there are also less important issues. You and I are talking about unemployment and agrarian distress, the slowing down of the economy and Rafale and all that. But let me tell you, Supriya, that at the local level, at the state level, there will be a number of other issues. How is the state government of the BJP formed? Whether the MPs have done their bit or not during the last 5 years, etc., etc. These are issues which will influence the voters. So the opposition is well within its rights to raise a number of issues, and the people will pick up some of them depending on which one appeals to them and form their opinion. The government would like national security to be the overriding issue, but they forget that this can easily be challenged. I mean, if you look at the string of terrorist attacks which have taken place during the last 5 years, during the tenure of this government, then I would say it's not a record any government could be proud of.
Fair point.
And Pathankot was followed by the visit of a Pakistani team, which included ISI people also. And they didn't allow our team to go across. Now, why did the government commit such a mistake? Then there was Nagrota, and then there was Uri, and then there was Pulwama, one bad attack after another. So, the record of the government on national security is not a very impressive record that they can walk away with the trophy and say, we are the only ones who, under whom national security is fully protected. Others have done equally well.
Right.
Other governments.
Right. Two quick last questions, sir. And what is really coming to fore right now is a big battle that's brewing between the economists on one hand and the CAs on the other. And all of them are stakeholders as far as India's growth and economy is concerned. But this seems to have become a very divided, sort of a very polarized, and if I may say, with a political slant campaign. What do you attribute this to? Do you attribute this to the fact that 2014 was when Mr. Modi had set the agenda, when he had set the narrative, when he had promised development, and 2019 is when he'll be judged across those parameters, and which is perhaps why we are seeing such a bitter war of words and action there?
Look, I mean, it's not in doubt anymore that the government is manipulating statistics. It is suppressing data which does not suit it. And forget politics. Why would the acting chairman of the National Statistical Commission and the only other member, both of them resign because the government would not allow the NSSO data on unemployment to see the light of the day? We are all aware of the manner in which the data was manipulated on growth figures of the past years. So, you know, this data manipulation, I feel, as a person who has dealt with it, highly scandalized that we should live to see a day in this country where data is actually being manipulated by the powers that be. Now, some economists, not some, over 100 economists, raise their voice. They have concern. Why should the chartered accountants get into this fight? How are they concerned with the manner in which government data is collected and disseminated, compiled and preserved?
Right.
How? They have their role cut out. The chartered accountants have a clear responsibility, which is not statistics. Statistics is the responsibility of a semi-autonomous body within the government called the Statistical Commission of India. The Niti Aayog has nothing to do with it. Just like the earlier Planning Commission had nothing to do with it.
Right.
The Finance Ministry has nothing to do with it. And the moment these people in Niti Aayog and Finance Ministry, including the Finance Minister, jump into the fray, then the suspicion gets deepened that they have something to hide.
Fair point.
And quite clearly, I would go to the extent of saying, Supriya, that government is indulging in untruth as far as economic statistics is concerned, and they are painting a picture which does not exist. The economy is in a bad shape, the growth rate is declining, sector after sector and after sector of the economy, as you are aware, is in deep distress, and still we are saying, oh, we are the fastest growing economy in the world just because China has declined, and we have trumped up figures of our own growth.
Okay, fair point indeed, sir. And I think some of what you say does raise concerns. It does cloud the bravado around growth. But a quick last word, and this one's a little, it borders on a little personal and of course political. Mr. Advani's decision to step aside, and that seat was going to be contested by Mr. Amit Shah. In some sense, you work very closely with Mr. Advani. What does this mean, not just for Indian polity, but particularly the BJP? His decision to step aside and not contest elections 2019.
Well, I have not come across any public statement by Mr. Advani to suggest that he is not interested in contesting elections. You know, the more graceful thing would have been for Mr. Advani to himself announce that he is not interested in contesting the elections, and then the parliamentary board, the Central Election Committee of the BJP could have taken the decision to field Amit Shah in place of Mr. Advani. But the manner in which it has been done, in the background, the complete silence of Mr. Advani has sent a very wrong message that first they pushed him out of all the decision-making bodies, and now they are even denying him a ticket for parliament. That is the impression which has gone round, and it does not redound to the credit of the BJP that it has treated its seniors like Advani, Murli Manohar Joshi, who have been the force behind the rise of the BJP in this manner. That is extremely painful.
All right. On that note, we'll of course be talking a lot more through elections 2019, sir. But thank you very much for putting it all in perspective. The narrative being controlled by the government, like you say right now, and the opposition blindly walking into it. Mr. Yashwant Sinha's advice and suggestion, and like he says, unsolicited advice to the opposition is stay clear of that narrative, build a narrative of your own, and there are many, many issues that you still need to highlight, jobs, agrarian crisis, and all of that being primary amongst them. Thank you very much, Mr. Sinha, for being with us right here on ET Now.